Welcome to this episode of UMBC's Mic'd Up podcast. My name is Denise Cardona from the Office of Professional Programs at UMBC. Today, we are joined by a current student in the MPS Software Engineering program, Aikya Inuganti. I hope that you enjoy this episode. Thank you so much for being here with us today. It's really wonderful to have you.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
Yes. So tell me a little bit about your educational journey so far. You just completed your second semester, I believe, in software engineering, the MPS program.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, this is my second semester. So I came for my last fall for software engineering. I think ours was the second batch of software engineering in UMBC, if I'm not wrong. So we were not many, we were few. I think we were around 15 in the class, which actually made it quite special because we got the chance to interact with each other and we got a real chance to spend time more with each other since we were less in number. And also with Professor Samar, the program director, the interaction was great. He was with us supporting all through the course, and whenever we need him either in mail or whenever we want to meet him in person, he was always there. And yeah, it was a great experience till now. And also the kind of content that we learned in so far in software engineering is very relatable to the practical experience that we are going to have in the future in the software industry. So yeah, it was really great so far.
Yeah, that's fantastic to hear. I remember when we started the software engineering MPS program here, I interviewed Dr. Samara, and he's just so excited about this program. He's excited about the field of software engineering. I love listening to him talk about software engineering. It's inspiring, and he puts his heart into this program, and you're in a really good place. I can say that. And yeah, you really are. And it's becoming more and more popular. As the semesters roll on, people are learning about software engineering. And think about it. Software engineering, it leads the world. It's really what makes the world tick. We can't really be what we are with technology, with any of the advancements we're making without software engineering. It's really interesting. So tell me a little bit about what brought you so far to this program. What brought you to this program? Where were you before it? What were you doing before it? And what made you say, I want to do that?
Yeah, so I have done my undergrad in information technology. Then I had around 5 years of work experience. So my work experience was not totally technical. I was a strategic partnership specialist. So I worked in a software company, but it was not as a software developer. It was not completely a technical role, but I was always fascinated with the IT teams and how do they function. So I wanted to make a transition to learn more about technology, and the role which I worked, it was more like a managed role. And I thought maybe pursuing something in IT industry that would help me make the transition into the technical software field. So when I was researching, I came across UMBC and the software engineering. I was just going through the different courses in UMBC and I was reading about them, researching about different courses that were available. And that's where I came across software engineering. So when I read about it, it was very interesting because it is not like a very core technical course. Like it is not completely about a particular language like a Java or C or operation systems. It is about how do you manage the software on the whole. It covers different aspects of software industry. It covers a project management. It covers the software architecture, the software processes. So that's what made me more interested towards the course, because I thought with my work experience and with what I want to see myself in the future, so I felt this is the exact curriculum that I'm looking at. So that's how I enrolled in software engineering, and I was lucky to get admitted.
Yes. What is it about the software engineering field that most excites you? What are you looking forward to bringing forth to the world after learning about this field?
Yes, to be honest, I wanted to pursue the roles of a project manager or a business analyst. So that's how I see myself. So with my learnings about the software from the software engineering course, with like about managing the software team and knowing how to build a software process, I think I'm really excited to when I start my career that I can be a great product manager or business analyst and help build teams. So I'm really looking forward for that, to build IT teams that can develop or produce great technology products.
Yeah. Now, so far, you've been in the program, like I said, for 2 semesters. You've got another semester. You'll be possibly graduating in the fall of 23.
Yes, that's the plan.
Yes, that's the plan. That's great. So far, what have you discovered that, in terms of the skills, knowledge, and abilities, what do you see is important for somebody who's going to be entering into this field to have? What has been most helpful to you so far in your studies and being able to transfer what you're learning in the classroom into what you're actually doing?
Yes, software engineering course, few subjects like advanced software engineering or software process management, they help us understand how to build a software team and how to build a software process from the scratch. They teach us about different methodologies that we can use and how to build them, how to test it, and how to make it into a product. So that is it is like building a software product from the scratch. So I think it's going to be a great course if somebody sees themselves not just as a developer or a tester, but somebody who sees themselves more in an architect role or in a managerial role where they're in a position to build a team, where they are in a position to build entire software product. So it gives an overview of how you do that. So I think that is something which is going to be really useful for the students.
Yeah, I would imagine so. It sounds like it's something that is so transferable too. Like you're not going to be niched into a certain role. It sounds like it's very universal and you'll be able to use those skills in pretty much any part of the software engineering world that you can see yourself in.
Yes, yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
That's very much true.
Do you have a favorite segment of the software engineering world that you can see yourself in the future?
Yes, as I told you, I would see myself in the field of the project management, where I can be the head of a project, where I can lead the software project. So yeah, that's where I see myself.
Yeah, that's cool because software engineering really it encompasses various fields. There's aerospace, there's computers, there are cars, there are just so many different industries that you could find yourself in. So I find that to be pretty fascinating, and I would imagine it's pretty exciting to know that really there's no ends to the mean there. You can find yourself in any kind of an industry that you take an interest in. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Now, how has the program prepared you for this future? Have you learned something? Have any light bulbs gone off where you're like, wow, that's just a really great skill that I just learned that I can bring to the office on Monday. I just learned it in the classroom this night, and I'm going to be able to bring it into to my workforce the next day. Anything like that? That any kind of light bulb that went off, or anything that maybe one of your instructors brought to the class and it just opened up your mind to something that you didn't think about before?
Yeah, so it's not one particular thing, but I would say a course that I recently taken, software testing. That is something which I was not familiar with. Even in undergrad, we never had that subject. So I always wanted to learn that, which is something which is completely new to me. So yeah, that is something which was very useful. Like irrespective of whether you're going to be a software developer or an architect or a project manager, I think you should have a little bit knowledge of what goes into testing a software application or a software project. So I think software testing is something which I learned recently and which I'm sure that would be helpful for me. It's a very important segment of software in whatever software product you build.
Fantastic. Now, what advice would you offer somebody about if they're considering the field of software engineering, but maybe they're on the fence and they're not sure if this is a viable field to enter into? What kind of advice would you give somebody who's thinking that way?
Yeah, so I would tell them to do research because when I was doing my undergrad, we didn't have much knowledge. We just thought the software industry might be just Java or C++ or just few programming languages. So when after the years when I started working, then I realized the software industry is so huge. There's so many technologies. it is so vast. There's so much scope. Like you don't have to code in order to stay in the software field. You can do so much else. You can build teams, you can be in a managerial role, you can be a tester. So there's so much to know. There's a huge scope where you can develop yourself. So someone who is going to enter into it, I would say just note down what you're interested in and do your research. You have a lot of materials available online. You can YouTube it and you can just read some papers. Or I would say, if you know someone, your friends or your family who are already working in the software industry, talk to them and then decide which area you want to go into. And then understand the skills that you require in order to sustain in that particular field.
That's sound advice. It really is. Do your research, do your due diligence, make sure it's really for you. And that's really important. Can you share your international experience with us in terms of how your education is helping you and what it's like being an international student in the MPS software engineering program?
Yes, so yeah, that's really exciting because earlier when I was working, I worked with the clients or with the teams who are in US and other parts of the world. But yeah, as a student, it's a completely different experience. So I got a chance to work with few of my classmates in the projects who are Americans. And so yeah, it was a different experience. It was really good because till now you come from a certain place and people talk in a certain way, people do work in a certain way, but now you need to interact with people from different countries with different perspectives. And at the same time, one thing which you have in common is your interest in your studies and the project that you're going to do. So I think that's something which binds us together. And yeah, it was a great experience so far. I got a chance to interact with friends. I made few friends and yeah, it was really good. It was a great learning experience.
Oh, I love hearing that. That's fantastic. Is there anything that I haven't asked you that you think could lend value to this conversation as we close out this episode of UMBC's Mic'd Up podcast?
No, I think nothing else. So I would just, all the students, I would just say, yes, focus on what you're doing. At the same time, this is a chance where you can explore yourself. So don't just restrict yourself to the classroom, to your studies. I think UMBC, it has so much more to offer. You can just go out of your classroom and participate in different events and yeah, try to enjoy your student life as much as possible because it's going to add a great value not to your future too.
Absolutely. I always like to ask a couple of questions from a professional development angle because this UMBC Mic'd Up podcast is about professional development for professional students. And so, what is your favorite quote?
Yes, so yeah, my favorite quote is "This too shall pass." So that is something which I always liked. I think I heard about. I didn't know that it was a quote. I just heard that quote in a movie when I was a kid. So then that's where it stuck me. So I feel like whatever it is, any bad phase that you're having, everything shall pass. You just have to just be patient and be strong. Take one day at a time. Yeah, so that is something, that quote is something which always stuck with me. And if any of my friend or if anyone is going through a tough phase, that's what I would like to advise them. Just take it slowly, everything shall pass. Nothing is permanent.
That's right. And it's really important to remember that because no matter what we're doing in life, whether we're grad students, professionals out there in the working world doing both, having kids, families, whatever it might be, we're always going to be challenged by something. And there are some times when, let's face it, we just want it to pass because it's really grueling or really challenging to us. But knowing that everything does ebb and flow and everything does pass, it's a comforting feeling because in order to grow, right, we have to go through those kinds of periods in life because that's how we learn things is through those challenges. Yeah. And what is the greatest piece of advice so far that you have received?
Yes, so one advice which would always stay with me is, so if you do something for yourself, don't do it because you're under peer pressure or somebody else is expecting that from you, because end of the day, it is you who are going to live with your decisions. So whatever you do it, so it all depends on what do you want and how do you take it. So whatever decision that you want to take or whatever field that you want to choose, do it for yourself first. At the end of the day, it is only you who is going to be in the journey. So you had to do something which suits to yourself.
I love it. Thank you so much for that. I want to thank you for being with us today on the UMBC Mic'd Up podcast. I've loved this conversation, and it's just thank you for sharing your insights on software engineering, on UMBC, on the whole experience and process. And it's always fun and interesting to listen to everybody's journey, and it's just interesting to be able to share that with other people and be able to just enjoy the process with people, with you, enjoying that process as you move forward in your life and in your career. And gosh, before you know it, UMBC will be your alma mater, and you'll be moving forward and doing some great things in this world, no doubt.
Yes, thank you so much. Yeah, it was. I had great fun. So it was a really good experience. I'm really glad that part of the podcast.
Thanks for listening to this episode of UMBC's Mic'd Up podcast. I hope you enjoyed it. If you'd like to learn more about our offerings, do a search for UMBC Software Engineering Graduate Programs or click the link in the description.